Hello, and welcome back to another Minecraft tutorial. I'm mostly Darklink, and today I have something a little bit different for you guys. Today I got about 20 different bud switches to go over with you all. Now, if you don't know what a bud switch is, we'll go over that very shortly. But pretty much we'll go through each and every single one of these and how they work, so that way if you want to use them in your own redstone contraptions, you can. As always, if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It helps me grow this channel and allows me to make more videos like this for you guys. Okay, so bud switches. Bud switches, if you aren't aware, are block update detectors. So what does that mean? Well, that means that they can detect anything that is placed in front of them or any state change of a block. So like if we had cake and it was getting eaten, or if we had a furnace and things were being cooked, etc. Now, if you notice, I got an observer here. That is because the observer is a bud. A little bit of history, if you weren't aware. Bud switches, like all of these here, were very commonly used in a lot of farms back in ye olden times of Minecraft and Pocket Edition, what is now Bedrock. The vast majority of these, if not all of these, did not work. So Mojang created a block, the Observer, to do mostly what all of these things do. So the Observer, it detects if you put a block in front of it, and it gives us a nice little redstone signal out the back. It revolutionized redstone when it was made, and it is still going to be your best option the majority of the time. But a lot of these bud switches here, at least if you're on Java, are still going to have their niche place where they would be a better option than an observer, or, just more fun. Because it's always just fun to build redstone stuff. So one thing with all of these, if you haven't noticed, we got note blocks and lamps here. The lamp is going to show potential spots where you could take a redstone signal out of, and we're just going to use the note block to simulate block placement or block updates, because right clicking on a note block is a block update essentially. Now I do have carpet on all these so that way it doesn't make noise, but we also have a few other things because some of these are a little bit special. So let's go ahead and go over them. We got the observer, like we said, very basic. It is going to be the default bud for most cases, but this first one here, what I'm calling the paused clock bud, is a little bit special. If you haven't watched any of my videos on like redstone clocks or T flip-flop, I make up names for things that don't have names. So yeah. So the pause clock bud here, pretty much what we got. We have a redstone clock here, which is powering this whole circuit. And when we have a block update, this sticky piston is pushing this block down to here, which completes this circuit here and starts off this clock. This piston here will fire and block the sticky piston from shooting back down. So the sticky piston forgets that it's powered, because if you see here, it is currently powered, but the regular piston blocked it. So this sticky piston is just kind of stuck there. So when we give it a block update by putting a block nearby, like so, or the note block or anything like that, the sticky piston remembers that it's supposed to be powered and extends, but then it gets cut off again because this circuit here turns off the redstone torch, which retracts it and extends out the piston, and we can use that to create a bud. Now we got a couple places you could take a signal off of. Either side here you could take a signal off of if you really wanted to. The one thing, if you have like a redstone line coming off this side, just be aware, redstone does change direction. So careful. This is probably going to be the best place to take it off of. Yeah. Now our next one, this one is more of a honorable mention, and this is Etho's bud switch. Way back in the day, if you weren't aware, Etho's lab, he's one of the grandfathers of modern redstone. He created this bud switch which uses water and boats. Back in the day, what would happen is if you placed a block here, it would remind the water that it's supposed to flow. This block wouldn't be here, and it would flow out, raise this boat off this pressure plate, which would then send a signal here and extend out the piston, which would block the water, stopping it from flowing. Then the piston would retract back, and it would create a bud using the water. But mechanics aren't the same as they were back then. So if we free the water, the boat no longer lifts off. there's a lot of old redstone that use this mechanic that no longer works. Some of them you can get away with having a bubble column to shoot the boat up in the water, but you have to have a water source, which kind of defeats this entire purpose here. So sadly, Etho's bud switch no longer works, but it was neat and very creative. Okay, now we're going to go on to less goofy and a lot more of the basic buds. So, a basic bud, pretty much this piston here, if we give it a block update, you see it extends out. This one, as well as the next one, both aren't using QC to create the bud. A lot of bud switches do use QC, which if you're not aware of what QC is, that's quasi connectivity. It's a Java thing. Sadly, if you have Bedrock, Redstone doesn't work that way. As far as quasi connectivity, we'll explain that once we get to some of the buds that use it. But this particular one here, all we're doing is when we give a block update to this piston that is powered, it is extending out this redstone block here, which then powers this piston and unpowers this piston. This piston retracts, this piston extends, and then when this piston gets powered again, it tries to push out, but it can't because this one is extended. So very similar idea as the paused clock bud, just a lot more condensed. It's only one wide, and it's very simple to use. And we got all these different places we could potentially take a redstone signal out of, depending on what kind of build you have. If we take all of the extra stuff away, this is all the bud switches. It's very simple, very compact, very easy to make. So the second one here, this one is very similar to the first one. It is the same exact mechanic as mentioned earlier. So if we give this first piston here a block update, it'll push out the redstone block as well as this block. This piston will push everything back, and then this piston will try to push out again, and it will find that it can't, and then it just sticks there until we give it a block update to remind it that it's powered. Again, take out the signal from several different places. If we take away all of our lamps and stuff, this is what we're left with. Again, fairly simple, fairly easy to make, just different design. Next is another bud switch with the same exact principles as the previous ones, except for this one is only one high. So if vertical space is more valuable to you than horizontal, this is the one you're going to want to make. As well as you can get signals from a couple of different areas on this one. So if we go ahead and activate it, we come down here, we can see the pulses on each one. As you can see, we get different pulses depending on where we're taking the signal out of, which makes this one a bit unique. Not sure more versatile would be the right word, but definitely a lot more unique. You can do some interesting things with it if you wanted to. And just like before, if we take away all these lamps, as well as the jukebox, what we're left is this nice little 3x3 contraption. Again, small, compact, easy to make. All right, now we get into our first bud switch that's using QC. So QC are quasi connectivity. Essentially, this piston here is being powered, but it's not registering that it's being powered. So we got this redstone line here that is powering it, but it's not directly powering it. So when we give it a block update, similar to these ones that we're using the piston to block the other one, it makes the piston realize that it's being powered, and it will push forward and shoot out the block. And as you see, this one is a very quick pulse. If you see the redstone lamps, depending on where you want to take out the signal, you can get a bit different results. And just like all the others, if we take away all the lamps and the jukebox, this is what we're left with. It's very simple. And if we place a block anywhere next to it, it'll work and fire off. Now, this one, I do have a note that it can become a clock. So if we put another block here and add a piece of redstone, we have now made a redstone clock, a fairly fast ticking redstone clock. If we just break that, it will go back to being a bud switch. Next, we have another basic bud switch here. This one, just like the last one, if we give this piston a block update, it'll fire off. And as you can see from the redstone torches, depending on where you're taking out your signal, you'll get a slightly different pulse. And if we take it all away, this is what we're left with here. Now, this one here can be turned into what is known as a T-bud switch or a toggleable bud switch. And what does that mean? So if we turn this repeater to 2 ticks, as you see, the piston was extended out. If we give it another block update, it'll retract. Another update, it'll send out. So each block update is what causes the pulse, as opposed to putting the block next to it and the piston being sent out and back in. Next, this one's fairly neat. It's an old boat sand bud. It no longer works as originally intended. It's now a redstone clock. So if we give it an update, as you can see, we get a bit of a slow moving clock here where the on pulse is a bit long and then it turns off for a very short period of time. If we use a golden pressure plate here, we get a more even pulse than if we use the wooden. But once we get this going, there's no real good way to shut it off. Let me see if I can get it to turn off here. Yeah, once you get it going, looks like we broke it. You can toggle it off, but you also run the chance of completely breaking it, like I just did here, where we now have the boat merged with the sand, and this piston has no idea what to do. But yeah, old boat sand bud. Now a redstone clock. Not the most practical thing, but it's fun. All right, now we move to our first revolution in bud switches. A lot of these bud switches, these are designs that are almost as old as the game itself. This one here, when slime blocks got introduced, became possible, and it was, I think, the smallest bud switch you can make at the time. So what we got is just a sticky piston, slime block, and a redstone block. And just like those ones back there, it is being powered by quasi connectivity. So if we give it a block update, as you see, we get a very quick signal. It goes up and then it instantly retracts back down. These ones were very popular if you use them with a smart piston, and you can use them with things such as cobblestone generators or other block farms like moss farms nowadays would work well with this kind of a bud switch. This is just, I don't know why. I love doing things like this. Now this one's not silenced like the other ones because slime block, it'll steal my carpet. Now back behind here, it's the same exact thing, just configured a little bit different. So instead of the redstone block being out here in front of the piston, we got a diagonal. And then if we power it like so, same thing. Now this one though, if we break this block out in front of the sticky piston and we power it, now we have a redstone clock. And if we do that, we can power it off. Yeah, now we just have a redstone clock that will go on forever. And if you want to turn it back to a bud switch, just place a block in front of the slime again. It's back to being a bud switch. This one here is more of a handy design of the previous basic QC buds. And the reason why it's a bit handier is because this one is a flush bud. So we got the piston here, which is flush with our wall, which is why it's a flush bud. And if we give it a block update from the back here, as you can see, we get our nice little pulse. But if we take away our little jukebox, as you can see, it's just nice, flat, and flush. And this one here is good if you're going for the more aesthetically pleasing designs that require a bud. And then we got a couple of different spots where we could take out the signal. If I can stop double placing blocks. If we take it all away, this is all it is here. Again, very simple, easy to make. This one here, I actually learned from a Mumbo Jumbo video, the Detector Rail BUD. This one is pretty unique and fun. So if we hit the button, you see we get a detector rail that goes out, back in. And if we jump in the minecart, what just happened is we got a string here that's updating everything. And this is a bit more complex and complicated bud as far as the mechanics go. But this is good for auto detecting when somebody gets in a minecart and it'll just go off. So if you did a bit of redstone engineering and you set up an auto placement system or something where you hit a button, dispenses out a cart, second you jump in, this minecart will just take off instead of you having to hit a button or anything. All you got to do is jump into the minecart. Bit niche, but fairly handy. This one here is a bit neat. So I was scraping the internet, or at least YouTube, looking for some unique bud designs, and I came across this one by Exuma that he made way back in the day. So this is a fire double pulse. Essentially what we have is we have a dispenser here with flint and steel, and if we were to put this fire out, as you saw, what happened is we get a nice pulse. This dispenser will fire off, lighting this netherrack, which will cause another bud update and cause another pulse. So we get a double fire pulse here from one block update. Pretty neat. All right, this one here, the Burnout BUDs. This one is used by a lot of people for early game things before they get access to materials to make observers, because all it is a piece of redstone, a redstone torch, and a piston. So if we were to give a block update to this redstone torch here, as you saw, it rapid fires this piston. And you can use this for a couple of things. Personally, I don't find the Burnout BUD to be too practical because I don't need my piston to rapid fire like that. But you know, if you need to, you need to. All right, this next one is a sand bud. Also very simple and fairly compact. All we have here is a couple of building blocks, piece of glass, and a piece of sand on top of the glass. If we give a block update to the sticky piston, you see it shoots off the sand, and the glass here stops the pulse. So giving the block update causes the piston to shoot up and the glass to go up, which interferes with this redstone signal and causes our piston to retract back down. I don't know why, but I enjoy gravity blocks in redstone. This one's a fun one. All right, now we have yet another basic QC bud. So this one here, slightly different design than the previous ones. So if we give a block update to this piston here, we get a kind of a long pulse here. The thing that's unique about this one is if we swap the repeater and dust around, we turn it into a T-bud. So you can repurpose or essentially use this one as either a regular bud switch, or if you need a T-bud for any reason, just swap this repeater and this redstone dust, and you got T-bud. And we have yet another QC bud here. This one, as you can see, is a bit more bulky than the other ones, but it's the same principle. So if we give a block update to this piston here, it extends out, it gets depowered, it retracts back, and then quasi connectivity starts over again. Pretty simple. All it is a couple torches, repeater, and then a line of redstone dust up here at the top. Now this one is the super speed bud. As you can already see, this is the most complicated bud switch in this video. What we got is we have two furnaces with 42 items in them. And whenever we give this piston here a block update, as you can see, we get a very fast rapid pulse. The use for the super speed bud here is to be used with a smart piston. If you have a smart piston here, every time a block is created from whatever block generating farm you have or pushed over, the smart piston will shoot the block out and you can do whatever you're going to do with it. And the super speed bud here can keep up with pretty much anything, as where a lot of other bud switches, they can't go anywhere near as fast. Now this one is a bit more complicated, so I'm going to walk around. Yes, this is all glass, and yes, this needs to be glass. And we do have target blocks here. I am going to have a bunch of links in the description down below for where a lot of these T-buds originated, or at least where I found them, including Ilmango's T-bud here. Ilmango's video has a step-by-step tutorial on how to build this bud switch. So if you are wanting a super speed bud switch for yourself, I highly recommend that you go and watch his video. That way you can make sure that you build this correctly, because it is a bit more complicated than any of the others. But this one is very useful in a lot of bigger farms that generate blocks. Now, our last bud switch here, this one's a bit of a unique and fun one. So the path farm bud, pretty much we have this piece of dirt here, and if we were to turn it into a path block or farmland, so you see we get a nice little pulse here. And what is happening is when I turn this into a path block, this redstone torch is no longer able to power this repeater, which means this gets powered and powers this piston. This dirt block here is pushed over to the dirt, which transforms it back to regular dirt, which then allows this redstone piston to power this repeater again, thus allowing for us to do something like this. That's all of our bud switches. For the most part, nice, easy, and simple. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. If you want to see a tutorial on anything specific, let me know in the comments down below. In the meantime, see you.